Week 5, college football. Let's get it started. The first game I'm taking a look at today is between Mississippi State and Texas. So Texas I have ranked 2nd in offense, 8th in defense. Mississippi State's really around an average team in offense. They're a little bit under average in defense. But looking at this game, we have a high spread, and I got Mississippi State plus 40 at minus 110. So Texas is beat up on a lot of teams, and that's true. Mississippi State's a little bit better than those teams are. 40 is a lot of points to lay. I like Mississippi State plus 40 here, so that was the pick in that game. So the next game that I was taking a look at today is Oklahoma at Auburn. So Oklahoma is slightly better than average offense. They're a very good defense. Auburn's really above average in offense. They're above average in defense. Teams play really an average to slightly faster tempo. Auburn tends to be more of a running team. So Auburn's at home, and with the fact that they have a better offense, their defense is better than Oklahoma's offense. I took Auburn plus 3 at minus 101. So the next game I'm taking a look at is between Nebraska and Purdue. So Nebraska I have as a weak offense. I've had them as a weak offense the entire season. They're below average. They're not the worst, but they're not really the best. Their defense is very good, though. I have them ranked 8th. Purdue is weak in both offense and defense. Both are below average. When I look at the tempo, this is how fast the teams are playing the game. Nebraska is one of the lowest and slowest playing teams in college football, with Purdue being slightly above average. Both these teams, however, tend to be running-based teams. So in this game between Nebraska and Purdue, I took Nebraska and Purdue under 50.5 at minus 114, and I took that at FanDuel. So moving on to the next game, which is Northern Illinois at North Carolina State. So Northern Illinois I have as a weak ranked offense. They're really near the bottom. Their defense is above average, play a slow game. They tend to run the ball a lot. North Carolina State is really about average to slightly above average in both offense and defense. They're also a slow playing team as well. They tend to be biased more towards the run, but not as much as Northern Illinois. So in the game between Northern Illinois and NC State, I took Northern Illinois, NC State under 47.5, minus 105, and I took that at FanDuel. I think it's going to be a slow game. They're going to run the ball a lot. Neither of the offenses are particularly high powered. Both the defenses are pretty okay, which leads me to think that it's going to be a low scoring game with the under. So moving on, the next game that I'm looking at is between Navy and UAB. So Navy is a below average offense. They're slightly below average defense. Service academies tend to play very slow. They tend to really be focused on the run. UAB has around an average offense. They have a below average defense. They tend to play a little bit faster. They tend to be a little bit more towards passing. Given the fact that we have Navy in there with their slow pace, the total's at 56.5 at minus 110. It's a slightly high average total for college football, but given the fact that Navy plays slow, they play running, I think that it's going to come in under that total, and I took that at bet 365. So going to the state of Texas, I'm taking a look at the game between Texas State and Sam Houston State. So Texas State I have is in the top 40 in offenses. They're near the bottom in defense. Sam Houston's near the bottom in offense. They're around average in defense. The tempo should be played in the game slightly above average. But in this game, which is at a neutral site, Sam Houston's getting 8 points. I think 8 points is a lot for college football. I think between this rivalry and all that Sam Houston will manage to hang in the game to not lose by more than 8. So that was Sam Houston plus 8 at minus 110, and I took that at Caesars. So the next game is Massachusetts and Miami, Ohio. So Massachusetts is a weak college football team. Perennially, they're a weak college football team. Not really anything notable. With Miami, Ohio, they have a very weak offense. They have a very decent defense. They tend to play a slow game. They tend to run the ball a lot. So because of that, it looks to be more of a slower pace, lower scoring game, and that favors getting a lot of points. So in this case, I took Massachusetts plus 17, minus 110, and I took that at Caesars. So in the game between Liberty and Appalachian State, I have Liberty 36th in offense. I have them around 70th in defense. Tend to play a slower game, tend to run the ball a lot. Appalachian State, I have them as really around an average offense, a weak below average defense, tend to play a little bit faster, tend to be more of a passing team. But in the game between these teams, I actually took 2 picks. So Liberty is a much better team, but they're only minus 3, and I took that at Caesars at minus 110. Appalachian State and Liberty, with Liberty running the ball more and having a slower tempo, I think they'll hold on to the ball more as the game goes and use that slower tempo to kind of grind the clock. 63.5 is a relatively high college football total. Again, both teams would need to score a lot of points in order to meet that total. I don't see Appalachian State necessarily scoring that many points as well. Liberty is going to run the ball and slow the clock down. So I took Liberty -3 at -110. I took Liberty and Appalachian State under 63.5 at -110, taking at Caesars and DraftKings respectively. So then I'm taking a look at the game between Louisiana Lafayette and Wake Forest. So Louisiana Lafayette I have ranked 28th in offense. I have them ranked near 100 in defense. Wake Forest is really slightly below average in both offense and defense. The tempos here combined should be a slightly below average playing game. Both the teams tend to favor the run just a little bit more than the pass. With that said, though, the total is 60. So again, 60 is a relatively high total for college football. Wake Forest doesn't have that great of an offense. I mean, look, Louisiana Lafayette's defense isn't that much better. It's slightly worse, but Wake Forest is not particularly high-powered. It's a high total. Louisiana Lafayette, being the slightly better offensive team, tends to play slow. So I think this is a good chance to take the under 60 at -110. So then I'm moving up to the state of Michigan. I'm taking a look at the game between San Diego State and Central Michigan. So San Diego State's very weak on offense. They're slightly below average in defense. Central Michigan's pretty weak in both. Teams with their tempo ranks being that low, they should play a slower than average game. Both of them tend to favor the run. So with all that said, the total's 55. 55 is really an average total, and these teams really aren't going to be average in offense. They're going to be below it. They're not going to play average in tempo. They're going to play slower than that. They're not going to be average in how much they're throwing the ball versus running the ball. They're going to run the ball more, leading to a slower game. So I took San Diego State, Central Michigan under 55 at -110. I took it at Caesars. So going then to the state of Ohio in the game between Old Dominion and Bowling Green. So Old Dominion is a weaker offense, a weaker defense. Bowling Green slightly better in offense than defense, but neither is particularly good or above average. Bowling Green tends to play the game very slow. Old Dominion tends to play it a little bit faster. Bowling Green has tended to be more of a throwing team, but they've played a lot of unbalanced matchups where when they're down by a lot of points, they're going to throw the ball more. With that said, I took Old Dominion and Bowling Green over 49.5 at -110. I took that at bet 365. So Bowling Green should be able to score some points against Old Dominion's weaker defense. With a defense ranked around 100, I don't necessarily see Bowling Green shutting out Old Dominion. So with that, and the fact that Old Dominion tends to play a quicker game, this is a good spot to take over 49.5 at -110, which I took at bet 365. So finally, getting to a game between two decent teams, we're taking a look at Stanford versus Clemson. So Stanford has around an average offense, a below average defense, really average in tempo. Clemson's a good offense. They're better than average defense. Not the best, but they're a decent defense. And again, tend to play around an average pace. But Stanford here is getting a lot of points at 22.5. So I took that at DraftKings at -110. So Stanford's behind, and they're the weaker team. That's true. But they're not a completely horrible team that Clemson should run all over. I think Stanford can put up enough of a fight to not lose by more than 3 touchdowns. So I took Stanford here, and I took them at DraftKings. So another one of the exciting games in college football this week is between Georgia and Alabama, two great teams. They're going to meet in Alabama. So Georgia I have ranked 7th in offense, 3rd in defense. They tend to play a slower game. Alabama I've ranked 3rd in offense. I've them 6th in defense. Tend to play, again, a slower game. They tend to be more focused on the run. So in this game, Alabama's at home, so I like Alabama plus 2.5 at -110. I took that at ESPN bet. Both the teams I have them as relatively evenly matched. Alabama's at home in this particular situation, which gives them a slight advantage, and they're getting points. So I took Alabama, and I took the ESPN bet. So I'm going to Tennessee for the game between Middle Tennessee and Memphis. So Middle Tennessee I have as a very weak team, both in offense and defense. Their offense being slightly better than their defense, but not by very much. Memphis, I have them as having a great offense, ranked 14th. Defense is not that great. Both these teams, tempos combined, should be a slightly above average game. Both of them tend to be more throwing teams, which would lead to a quicker paced game with the opportunity for more scoring. With that said, I took Memphis minus 24.5 at -110. I took the Caesars. I think that Memphis is strong offense against Middle Tennessee's very weak defense will allow them to put up a lot of points. With both the teams focusing a lot more on throwing and moving quicker, it leads the ability of Memphis to score a lot more points. So going out west, I'm taking a look at the game between New Mexico and New Mexico State. So New Mexico and New Mexico State, neither of these are great teams. I mean, both of them are really kind of bottom of the league in both offense and defense. New Mexico has a slightly better offense. New Mexico State has a slightly better defense. Both of them play slow. New Mexico State tends to focus on the run. But with that, I took New Mexico State +7 at +100. So again, New Mexico State's at home. Their offense is better than New Mexico's defense. Their defense is slightly worse than New Mexico's offense. And with these teams both being weak on offense, the total is relatively high at 58.5. So I took that under at -110, and I took that at Bet365. It's not going to be a great game. I don't think it's going to be an exciting game, but I think it'll be a low-scoring game where New Mexico State will hang on and lose by less than 7 or possibly win the game. And so the last game I'm taking a look at today is between Arizona and Utah. So Arizona I have is the 33 ranked offense, 67th ranked defense. They tend to play a slower game. Utah is around 45th in offense. They're around 12th in defense. They also tend to play a slower game. With this, I think the game will be slightly slower. Again, that favors the underdog getting the points. So I took Arizona plus 12.5 at -110, and I took it at Bet365. So Arizona, I think, will be able to put up some points against Utah. The slower game will prohibit Utah from scoring that many points to make it a blowout. So I took Arizona here, plus 12.5 at -110. I took it at Bet365. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye.